everyone, welcome back to this channel. And what did we do yesterday? What did we do? We talked about Prince Mustafa. It was a general talk, and I've uploaded that. And what I'll do is I will put that first conversation about Prince Mustafa in the description box of this video. Okay, so look for that. This second upload is not necessarily the continuation of that first talk. Therefore, you really don't need to listen to the first one first to come to this one and listen to this one. You don't need to do that. This is just my reference also that this is my second upload in regards to Prince Mustafa. I hope I made that very clear as mud, as people might say. Okay, today we will talk about Prince Mustafa, but I'd like to focus on Prince Mustafa. We all should know, or well, maybe we all do not know. I'll state this. Prince Mustafa's father was Sultan Suleyman. That is almost known by everyone. Here's a question. Who was the father of Sultan Suleyman? Think about that for a sec. So Prince Mustafa, his father was Sultan Suleyman, right? And Prince Mustafa's grandfather, right? Who was that person? That was Yavuz Sultan Selim. Yavuz meaning Stern Sultan Selim. And I'd like to talk today about Yavuz Sultan Selim, the grandfather of Prince Mustafa, and just one event that impacted these three individuals. So that's the focus of today's talk. But I've noticed that when you start talking about an event from the past, it opens up other areas that you need to open up a bracket, talk about that, and then close the bracket. Therefore, I try to make it a focused conversation about a certain topic. But excuse me if I what's that phrase? If I do a left turn and talk about something else, because when you do these kind of talks, you have to build the foundation, right? So similar to a bricklayer, you need to first build a strong foundation and then build up the wall, okay? Therefore, it's better to take our time, talk about an event and the people that are involved in that event, and talk in detail, right? Instead of going from one person or one event quickly without talking in detail or learning in detail about that certain event. Is that clear? You're supposed to answer back clear as mud. Okay, I'm not very good at these jokes, right? Okay, so let's talk about this. So let's backtrack. Prince Mustafa, the father is Sultan Suleyman, and Sultan Suleyman's father was Yavuz Sultan Selim. Sorry, I should state his English name or translation. Stern Sultan Selim. Okay, here's something I should add. Every sultan had a nickname that was placed in front of their names, right? So Sultan Suleyman's nickname was Kanuni. Kanuni meaning the lawmaker. Okay, think about that. Yeah. So Sultan Suleyman was referred as the lawmaker Sultan Suleyman, right? Okay, and his father Yavuz Sultan Selim, Yavuz meaning stern. That's what his character was. He was a very stern. He was a very stable. He was a very determined sultan. And Yavuz Sultan Selim ruled the empire for 8 years. It was short. It was a short rule, and the reason why Yavuz Sultan Selim uh, passed away at a young age was they say he had some kind of a sickness. We'll talk about that in another upload. But he only had a 8 year rule. 8 years. Okay, 8 years. His son, lawmaker Sultan Suleyman, ruled for 46 years. It could be 45 or 46. Excuse me if I'm not 100% correct, but it's 46 years. Let's say that. And what I want to talk about today was when 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 Yavuz Sultan Selim was not a sultan yet. So think about that. He was still a prince. So who was the sultan when Yavuz Sultan Selim was just a prince? His father, yes. His father was Beyazıt, Sultan Beyazıt, okay? And his nickname was Gentleman Sultan Beyazıt, okay? So, oh boy, I've opened up a bag of worms, I think. We're talking about Prince Mustafa, his father Sultan Suleyman, Sultan Suleyman's father Stern Sultan Selim, Sultan Selim's father was Beyazıt. Okay, let's bring the story in, or let's do a summary here. So, or let's focus. I apologize. My mind kind of wandered. So let's bring it together. When Stern Selim, or Stern Prince Selim, okay, was just a prince yet, right? His father was Beyazıt, and Selim was a prince governing the area of Trabzon. Okay, so that's current area of northern Turkey. So let me open up a bracket here. The princes within the Ottoman Empire, the sons, when they became a certain age, say between 15 and above 15, they were sent to rule a certain small area within the empire, right? To learn to be a leader, right? Learn to give orders, right? Learn to people manage, and also manage the assets, because he would get a salary, and then with that salary, the prince would rule that area, right? And obviously send reports to his sultan father. Okay, so let's close that bracket. Stern Selim was a prince in the city of Trabzon, which is northern Turkey, right? His father was older, and his father was getting ready to retire. His father being Beyazıt, and Beyazıt had two sons in competition for the throne, right? One being the one being Stern Selim, and the other being Ahmet. Okay, and it seemed like the other candidate was going to be the Sultan, because when a Shehzade or prince, I apologize, I'm trying to keep the English names. When a prince was sent to govern an area, the favorite prince was always sent to the closer destination to the capital city. Okay? Therefore, if you're sent further away from the capital city to govern that area, it gave you a disadvantage, because if the sultan passed away, it would take you longer to get to the capital city. And if the closer prince got to the capital first, he would declare himself as the sultan. Okay, therefore, um, Stern's brother was located. I'm not 100% sure about this. I can look it up and then write it in the description of this upload. He was located in Manisa or Bursa area, so it was very close. He was probably 300 kilometers away from the capital city, whereas Selim, Stern Selim, was about 600 kilometers away. He was very far away in the eastern part of the Ottoman Empire, being Trabzon. Okay, Trabzon. So, so Selim was like his nickname was very determined. He was a determined person. What did he do? What did he do? So here's what the conversation was about today. Selim, through the help of outsiders, particularly the, the Sultan or the King of Ukraine, because he was married to the daughter of daughter of Ukraine's king or sultan. I don't know. Ukraine was an ally of the Ottoman Empire. Okay, okay. So Selim married the daughter of the Sultan of Ukraine. Therefore, he requested help from his father-in-law to dethrone his old father, Sultan father, being Bayezid, right? And who did he get help from? We said the king of Ukraine plus his son. Okay, his son being who? Suleyman. Suleyman was back then about 18 years old, and Suleyman was one of the other princes that was governing a small area. Okay, so therefore, Stern Selim, with the help of a few people, including Suleyman, they took down the, the, the Sultan of the Ottoman Empire, being Bayezid. Think about that for a second. Eh? So, so when Stern Selim, in Turkish it's called ayaklanma, when Selim goes against, butt heads with his Sultan father, it's, when you read it now, they make it out to be he did a good thing, right? Right? But when Prince Mustafa, okay, supposedly spoke with the neighbors or wrote letters to the neighboring empires to uh, to secure the Ottoman throne, he is declared a deceiver. He betrayed the empire. It's not proper in my opinion, right? Because Selim was successful, the history books make him out to be a good leader. Because Prince Mustafa wasn't successful, but I'm not going to say he was trying. People assume that or think that he was. But let's just, for argument's sake, Prince Mustafa was trying to dethrone his father, being who? Sultan Suleyman. Because he was unsuccessful, he was declared that he betrayed his father. It's not consistent, is it? It's not consistent the way the history books have written some of these characters. So the point I was trying to make is Yavuz, Stern, Sultan Selim only became the next sultan after Bayezid because he 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 marched into the capital city Istanbul before his brother, who was closer, in a closer area, right? So he acted first, and he dethroned his father, who was still alive. Okay, he wasn't dead, and then he declared himself as the sultan. Okay, of the empire. Then the sultan, the past sultan, being his father, was sent to retire in a city, and that city being Edirne. Okay, and who helped him? His son, Prince Suleyman, the future sultan of the empire. So come forward quite a few years when Sultan, what was on his mind? So we can only contemplate what was on his mind, but I like to bring this to to the discussion. So Suleiman helped his father dethrone a sultan. Am I right? So Suleiman helped his father, Stern Selim, dethrone a sultan. Okay, and he lived with the pain of that, in my opinion, because he was paranoid. He was paranoid later on in his life when he was the sultan, because he was paranoid that one of his sons, okay, one of his sons being who? The most strongest candidate. Who was that? That was Mustafa. Mustafa was the strongest candidate to become the next sultan after Suleiman. And Suleiman was very paranoid that Mustafa would eventually walk into Istanbul, the capital city, and dethrone him. He lived with that. He lived with that that pain, I think, because he helped his father dethrone his grandfather. Okay, therefore he was living with the fear that that's going to happen to him. That's that's what I believe. Or and there's a truth there, right? He was so paranoid, Sultan Suleiman, that is, right? He was so paranoid that what did he do? We talked about this briefly in the first upload, and again, I'll put that first upload, I'll put a link to it in the description of this video. But what did Suleiman do? Let's briefly talk about that. Let me just see first. It's been 18 minutes. I'm happy with 18. What I'm trying to do is when I upload one of these conversations, excuse me, please. When I upload one of these conversations, I'm gonna try to keep them between, well, under 30 minutes, right? So if 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 we can keep them around the 20 to 30 minutes, I find that that is perfect, because the attention span of many uh, YouTube viewers is not very high, right? In one sitting, it's very hard to go through a 2 hour talk or a movie. I can't do it anymore. I can't sit for 2 hours. I'm always doing stuff. So it's better to upload something for one sitting, right? For one sitting, about, let's say, 20 to 30 minutes. So let's go back. What was I saying? What was I saying? Yes, I was saying that Sultan Suleiman was paranoid. And what did he do? What did he do? Well, this is what he did. He he had his eldest son, the future sultan, or to become the next sultan, he had him killed. Sad, isn't it? A sultan ordering his soldiers to kill his son. Like, think about that. Let that soak in a bit. How could he do that? Sultan Suleyman was in his 60s. Back then, a 60-year-old man was comparable, in my opinion, to somebody in his 80s today, maybe more, because people back then didn't live that long. What would be the average age back then that passed away? Say in their 40s, right? So Sultan Suleiman was an older sultan, right? And and he ordered the killing of his eldest son. By the way, how old was Mustafa when he was killed? Well, he wasn't a young man. Prince Mustafa was not a young man. He was 38 years old. So for for Sultan Suleiman and his his accomplices, right? The people that gave him the information of Mustafa betraying him. Okay, there was other people involved, right? They gave him the information that my Sultan, your son Mustafa, is betraying you. When Suleiman got this information, Mustafa was 38 years old. So one would think, or one would have the intelligence to think that why would Mustafa wait 38 years to betray his father when he could have betrayed him when he was 18, when he was 20, when he was 24, when he was in his late 20s or early 30s? He could have done it many times over before, but he didn't. That shows to me, and it's open for discussion with the people that are viewing this, is that that is the first, in my opinion, the first concrete proof that Mustafa was not betraying his father. He wouldn't have waited that long. He was past his prime, right? He was 38 years old. So therefore, he was an older person, and he was waiting for his father to pass on prior to assuming the the Ottoman throne, right? And I find that very interesting, right? Sultan Suleiman should have known this prior to giving the order to have his son killed, right? So, what do you think? Is that enough to? I think let's leave it at that for now, right? So let's leave. That's quite a lot of people that I mentioned in this upload. Who do we mention? We mentioned Prince Mustafa. We mentioned lawmaker Sultan Suleyman. We mentioned his father, Stern Sultan Selim, and then we mentioned Yavuz's father. Sorry, I said Yavuz again. I apologize. Stern's father, Bayezid. Okay, so there's three sultans and one prince in one conversation. And obviously, again, this is just a general talk. It's better to just focus on one person, and that's what I'm trying to do. The talk today was about Prince Mustafa, but Prince Mustafa's more so his father, but it affected Prince Mustafa's life, right? So it's just one element of a very broad history of the Ottoman Empire. And I'd like to end it with this thing. Please like or dislike. Please put a comment, please. I do read comments, and give us some information, or if there's anything wrong in what I said, or you want to maybe debate it, or you want to tell me something, please do so. You know, we're all humans. We can all make mistakes, and the important thing is to correct those mistakes and learn, right? And I'm open to learning, right? So let's help out each other. Thank you for watching. See you in another upload. Take care. Bye bye.